don't even know what half these books are.
And now the news is good with Matthew Martin.
I'm Matthew Martin, and the news is good. Tonight, the name Christian. I wanted to share something from a verse that many of us probably are familiar with. And when they had found him, they brought him to Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled together with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. Acts 11:26. Most importantly, it was in Antioch where the disciples of Jesus, a mixture of Jews and Gentiles, were first called Christians. Who called them Christians? Who gave them that moniker? Did they call themselves that? Did Paul invent the name, or Barnabas? Was it an epithet given to them by their enemies and skeptics of the resurrection that just stuck? No. The name didn't come from man. It didn't come from friend. It didn't come from foe. It came from God. The phrase called Christians is interesting, particularly the word called. It's a common word that appears many times in the New Testament, but there are multiple words in the Greek that are rendered like that. One is lego, which is typically used to name something or to be identified by name. Another word is kaleo, which means to invite someone. That's the word typically used when you talk about Christians. We are the called out people, the called people of God, the kaleo, 1 Peter 5:10. Neither of those words is used here, though. Both could have been used, but neither is. If lego had been used, then that would imply that people named themselves Christians, and that's just a name given to them. Okay, fine. But that's not the word the Holy Spirit used. If it was kaleo, it would have implied that the people invited those around them to call themselves Christians and invited them into the Christian relationship. And again, that's true, but that's not the word the Holy Spirit uses here. That's not what happens on this occasion. The word, as it appears in this text, is a form of krematizo, which basically means divinely designated. The Holy Spirit uses the Greek word one other time in the New Testament, where Paul talks about a woman cheating on her husband and how God shall call her an adulteress. Romans 7, verse 3. In other words, she is called by God, regardless of what man may say. What label you put on her is irrelevant. God has said this. Here in this text, the word is God called. Ask me what my religion is, and I'm supposed to respond Christian. What am I? Christian. Says who? Says God. According to the New Testament, a Christian is simply a disciple of Christ, added by Christ to the Church of Christ. We are not Church of Christ Christians, we are just Christians. We belong to the Church of Christ because Christ added us to it. We are part of the church, meaning the called out. We are part of the church of, implying ownership, as in the house of John. We are the part of the church of Christ because he is the king who called us out in the first place. A Christian is one who is a disciple of Christ. He is someone who sits at the feet of Jesus and learns from him. However, not everyone who sits at his feet will obey him. So a Christian is not always a disciple, or not just a disciple. A Christian is a disciple who has been added by Christ, not joined, not voted on, not inherited from mom and dad, added by Christ to the church of Christ. A disciple of Christ, a disciple to Christ, becomes a Christian when he obeys the commands the Master gives. And after trusting and obeying the Lord as the believer to the body of the saved, the bride of Christ, his church, we spiritually marry ourselves to Jesus, and thus Christ allows the saved person to wear his, our husband's, name, Christian. To reject that name, to water it down, to disregard it, to discard it, is spiritual adultery. My prayer for you today is that whatever broken relationships you're struggling with or that you have in your life, that they would begin to mend. Now, how they mend is dependent on the circumstances. What caused them to break is, the first step to knowing how to fix them. If it is you and a fellow Christian and you've gone your separate ways because that Christian has gone off the spiritual reservation and they don't listen to sound doctrine anymore and they don't follow the Bible anymore and they're living worldly lives and you had to part from them, you can still mend that relationship with them coming back to the Lord. If it is you who've gone away from God, if it's you who's walked away from the Lord, you can mend that relationship with those brethren who've said, I can't be around you, you're a bad influence. You can mend that relationship by you coming back to the Lord. If it is two faithful Christians, both generally speaking, living right in the sight of God, but you've had a split, how do you mend that? Well, what caused the split? Did somebody say something mean? Did somebody do something ugly? Did someone say or do something that was unchristian and it caused you to say, well, I just don't want to be that person's friend anymore? That's very human. But godliness is forgiving. And godliness is going to that person and saying, hey, I've done you wrong. I said something I shouldn't have said, did something I shouldn't have done, and I'm very sorry. Please forgive me. And then you, having heard that, say, you are forgiven. It is done. It's in the past. It might as well not have happened. Let's move on. Whatever caused that split, I pray that it can be mended with godly people doing godly things to cause that mending to happen, to take that first initiative. The first initiative is on you, the wrongdoer, to say that you're sorry, to take steps to fix whatever caused the break in the first place. And then you respond to that, the wrong done person, with forgiveness and reconciliation. That's my prayer for you, that those steps will start to happen and that they will culminate in a reconciliation. Have a great day. God bless.